Number 10. Conjugal chaos. An inmate at a German prison known only as Klaus Dieter H. was serving a 19-year sentence for a brutal murder when he killed his romantic partner during a conjugal visit in 2010. He'd started exchanging pen pal letters with the single mother 5 years earlier, and they eventually fell in love and applied for permission to have private visits. The couple told prison authorities that they wanted to stay together after the man's release. Officials approved the conjugal visits, thinking it would help keep the relationship intact during Klaus Dieter's incarceration. They allowed the pair to meet once a week for 6 hours without supervision. At the end of one of the couple's regular visits, a guard unlocked the cell they were in and walked into a scene of sheer carnage. The woman was laying on the floor, partially clothed and covered in stab wounds. Her skull was fractured, and there were strangulation marks on her neck. It was clear to the guard that she was dead. 2 knives and a nutcracker were found on the floor of the room. Inmates and their visitors were allowed to bring bags into conjugal cells without being searched, so there was an easy explanation for how the prisoner got his hands on the murder weapons. Klaus Dieter had attempted to take his own life but was rushed to the hospital and survived after undergoing emergency surgery. He would have been up for parole the following year, but he instead landed himself an even longer prison sentence. During questioning, he allegedly told investigators that he killed the woman because she broke up with him. Number 9. The old handshake trick. Anyone who's been around the block once or twice knows that a handshake is one of the most tried and true methods for inconspicuously exchanging contraband. However, the trick didn't work for an inmate named Marcelo McDonald, who shook hands with a visitor who came to see him one day in 2023 at the jail in Broome County, New York. A corrections officer became suspicious that the visitor had handed something off to McDonald that he shouldn't have. When the inmate refused a body search, he was put in a cell with a special toilet that was equipped to prevent anything from being flushed away. Soon enough, a pink container filled with 7.3 grams of deadly fentanyl appeared in the toilet's catch basin. During a subsequent search of McDonald's cell, authorities found dozens of prescription pills that also appeared to have been smuggled into the prison. The incident triggered a deeper investigation into McDonald's visits, and suspects Ethan Papathermopoulos and Alexis Merrill were charged for their alleged roles in acquiring and delivering the fentanyl. Another inmate, Justice Marenberger, is accused of arranging the conspiracy through phone calls and messages on the facility's tablets. Marenberger was charged with 3 drug-related counts, 1 count of promoting contraband and conspiracy. McDonald faces 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance, along with 1 count each of promoting contraband, conspiracy, and tampering with evidence. Number 8. Teacher gets busted. Just a few days into the 2023 new year, Sheriff A.J. Smith tasked one of his employees with monitoring inmates' video chats at the Franklin County Jail in Florida. They discovered footage of 52-year-old veteran school teacher Donna Barber allegedly disrobing during steamy video calls with her inmate boyfriend Lawrence Ray. Some of the videos appeared to show Barber in her office during school hours. During one conversation, Ray's ex-girlfriend entered the chat, unaware of his relationship with Barber. The dialogue quickly spun out of control, according to Smith. The sheriff used the case as a key talking point in a video he posted to social media, voicing his concerns about communication between prisoners and visitors. Smith told the New York Post that he decided to go public about Barber's case in particular because he thinks people have a right to know who's teaching their children. While there were no grounds for criminally charging the school teacher, Barber's employer told her that the school board planned to recommend her for termination after discovering that some of the conversations took place on campus. In response, Barber resigned from her position. A school source told the Post that parents and staff members had mixed reactions to the situation. Barber was a respected teacher of nearly 30 years who was nearing her retirement. Her behavior seemed out of character, and while it's automatically concerning when a teacher dates a prisoner, her conduct would have been far less of an issue if she'd kept her work and personal life separate. However, by conducting some of the video chats at her workplace, she undeniably crossed a line. Number 7. Sophisticated snack delivery. One day in 2023, a sheriff's deputy apprehended a man who was lurking in an unauthorized area at the DeKalb County Jail in Georgia. He had a box cutter in his possession and was detained while authorities performed a wider search of the area surrounding the facility. In a bush next to the building, they found a hidden bag filled with contraband, which they believe inmates planned to hoist into the building through a broken window using a rope. The illegal care package contained marijuana, cocaine, cigarettes, cell phones, jewelry, and keys. The bag was also filled with cooked chicken wings and sweets. Authorities charged the suspect, 45-year-old Michael Anthony Dixon, with multiple drug-related felonies, including possession of marijuana and possession of cocaine with intent to distribute. He also faces one felony count of crossing the state-county guard line with weapons and misdemeanor criminal trespassing. The arrest came as part of a bigger operation called Eyes in the Sky, which began in 2022 amid a suspicious influx of contraband getting smuggled into the jail. Suspecting that people were arranging contraband drops, the facility began using drones to patrol its exterior. Multiple people have been caught and charged as a result of the ongoing effort, including both inmates and their co-conspirators on the outside. Number 6. Murderer strikes twice. Argentinian prisoner Gabriel Charrete Herrera was serving time for robbery and murder in 2006 when he fatally strangled his wife, 29-year-old Veronica Castro, during a conjugal visit. He then exited the room and calmly told his mother-in-law that he'd just killed her daughter. Herrera was consequently sentenced to life in prison for the murder. After committing such a horrific act, one might assume that Herrera's conjugal visits were revoked, but in Argentina, these meetings are a right, not a privilege, and after serving whatever disciplinary measures were imposed for the murder of his wife, he was allowed to resume conjugal visits. Not surprisingly, the inmate struck again. In 2017, 11 years after the first murder, Herrera fatally stabbed his girlfriend, 20-year-old Andrea Neri, during a visit with her and the couple's baby. He then exited the room carrying the child, who was thankfully left unharmed, and confessed to a guard about what he'd just done. The mother of Herrera's first victim told local media outlets that she'd become concerned about Andrea's safety, especially when she was pregnant. She said she warned the young woman to be careful, but unfortunately, Andrea failed to heed her advice. When questioned by the media about how the prison staff could allow history to repeat itself in such a horrifying way, prison director Cesar Rodriguez said that all prisoners have a right to private visits. Juan Manuel Urtubey, the governor of Salta province where the prison is located, said that he planned to suspend Rodriguez and the prison's governor as a result. Number 5. Child tattles on frisky parents. A little boy who accompanied his mom to go see his dad in jail became concerned when his parents disappeared during the visit. He approached a guard at the prison in Sudbury, England, and said that he couldn't find his mummy and daddy, triggering a full lockdown while staff members searched for the missing couple. They caught the duo in the middle of a steamy romp inside a visitor bathroom. And while some European countries allow prisoners to have conjugal visits, Britain isn't one of them. The inmate, who was serving a 5-year sentence for robbery, was charged with improper behavior on family visits. He was consequently banned from having visitors for 3 months, and he lost his gym privileges. He was also fined a half-week's pay from his prison job. It's not uncommon for prison guards to catch inmates and visitors going at it, or at least trying to, but sometimes these interactions go unnoticed. For example, in 2017, surveillance footage captured an inmate being intimate with a woman during what was supposed to be a supervised visit at Rikers Island in New York City. It's clear during the video that there's no guard in sight, and prison officials soon discovered that the corrections officer charged with overseeing the visit wasn't even on the floor at the time. Elias Husamuddin, the president of the NYC Correction Officer Benevolent Association, told Pix11 that the guard was responsible for over 50 inmates that day. He pointed toward the jail's chronic understaffing issues as a possible factor for why the officer walked away from the visit. The visitor was immediately banned from visiting New York prisons for a year and likely faced a lifetime ban as well. Number 4. Locked in the visiting room. During a visit with her son at Missouri's Crossroads Correctional Center in Missouri, 54-year-old Denise Rainey realized that they'd been allowed to sit and talk for an unusually long time. Her son left the small cubby-like space they were sitting in and found the larger visiting area completely empty. Visiting hours were over and they noticed that they were locked inside the area. When Denise failed to get the attention of staff, her son said not to worry because guards would notice his absence during the next inmate count and would come get them. However, the next count time came and went, and the two were still stuck inside the visiting room. Normally, a little extra time to catch up is welcomed by inmates and visitors, but the situation became more and more concerning as the hours passed. Rainey later told Fox 4 Kansas City that she pounded on doors, banged on windows, yelled, and pushed buttons, hoping to gain the attention of the facility's staff, but with no success. She also had no access to a bathroom, giving her no choice but to wet herself when she could no longer hold it in. At 3:30 a.m., after languishing in the room for 12 hours and pushing her communication button several times, Rainey finally got through to a staff member. She said that when she told a worker she'd been trapped in the visiting area for half a day, the person on the other end laughed. To Rainey, it was no laughing matter. She told the guard that it wasn't funny, but they allegedly continued to laugh at her. Luckily, though, she and her son were removed from the room. In addition to not noticing that her son was missing during head counts, Rainey wondered how nobody noticed that she signed in for a visit and never signed out. A prison spokesperson admitted to the mistake, but insisted that the stranded pair had never tried to alert anyone. However, according to Missouri State Representative Richard Brown, it wasn't their responsibility to do so. While it's unclear what led to the mishap, Rainey was disappointed when she didn't receive an apology from the facility. Number 3. Virtual indecent exposure. To avoid any of the funny business that sometimes comes with in-prison visits, some prisons and jails require visitors to interact with inmates through a video chatting system at the facility. However, people still find ways to break the rules, and one woman decided to test the limits in 2021. 38-year-old Danielle Ferrero and an inmate at the Charlotte County Jail in Florida spent nearly an hour engaging in lewd conversation during a video call at the facility's visitation center. At some point, Ferrero allegedly began touching and exposing herself. Footage from the cell appeared to show the woman lifting her shirt multiple times and rocking back and forth on a chair in an inappropriate manner. Authorities arrested Ferrero for public exposure, landing her behind bars at the same jail where the hot and heavy conversation had occurred just days earlier. She was also charged with violation of probation or community control. Number 2. Deadly drug smuggling. Even after landing himself in prison for 11 years on a drug charge, Joshua Brown apparently failed to realize the life-ruining effects of illegal substances. He was 2 years into his sentence when he had his girlfriend, 33-year-old Rachel Dollard, sneak drugs into the Tennessee prison during a visit in 2022. Dollard hid a balloon pellet containing a half ounce of methamphetamine in her mouth and slipped it to Brown during a kiss. Brown swallowed the bag with plans to retrieve it once it came out the other end. However, the balloon leaked inside his stomach. As a result, he overdosed and died. Authorities charged Dollard with second-degree murder and introducing contraband into a penal facility. Following the arrest, the Tennessee Department of Correction announced plans to implement heightened security measures at its facilities. They also reminded the public that smuggling drugs into jail is dangerous and won't be tolerated under any circumstances. Number 1. Grandma gets caught. While undergoing a standard visitor search in mid-2022 at the DeSoto Correctional Institution in Florida, 44-year-old Melissa Webster was allegedly caught with 100 grams of cocaine and heroin. She'd brought her grandchild to the facility to see her son, but instead found herself in the custody of the local sheriff's department. In addition to the drugs that were found on Webster, a canine search of her car turned up another 1.5 pounds, 0.7 kilograms of cocaine and heroin. The drugs were stashed in various places throughout the vehicle, including inside the baby's car seat. Webster was charged with trafficking in cocaine, trafficking in heroin, introduction of contraband into a correctional facility, child abuse and neglect, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Her child was taken into the custody of the state's Department of Children and Families as a result. If someone you care deeply about got locked up but you found the prison visits to be unbearably depressing, would you continue going to see them knowing that your time together helped them cope with being locked up? Or would you put your own mental health first? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.